Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for coming here today, and thank you to the embassy, the ambassador, and DIT for inviting me to represent the UK in a sector that I find extremely important, at the same time extremely exciting and fascinating. I'm a senior investment director at Ingenious. Ingenious is a group, an investment group that invests in three main sectors. We have media, we have real estate, and we have energy and infrastructure. And I don't know if the name is familiar, but I'm sure if I told you some of the movies we fund, you recognize them, like Avatar, the X-Men, Life of Pi, so on and so forth. So we've been at the forefront of the movie industry for years, and it's been more than 6 years now that we've been focusing on renewable energy in particular. So I'm not going to dwell on what's happening in the market because you've heard it from Tom and from Yen. We are experiencing an energy revolution. The UK has been at the forefront of the Industrial Revolution, and I like to believe that now the UK is at the forefront of the energy revolution. The fundamentals are changing. We're going from a centralized generation of power to very much distributed. More than 1 million generators now in the country, small, wind and solar. This is completely changing the way data and energy is flowing. Once it was one direction, the big guys to the transmission line, the distribution line, to your homes. Now it's different. The consumers are becoming the generators now. So the revolution is happening. What does it mean? It means that the grid is finding very difficult to cope with the changes. We have a lot of renewable energy going into the grid. And by definition, renewable energy is unpredictable. You don't know when, especially with wind. You don't know how much with solar. But the grid needs to know how much capacity they have. They need to keep a certain frequency of distribution. So I like to say that Ingenious is part, we were part, and we are part, and will be part of the energy revolution because we invest in the key sectors that are changing the fundamentals. We are investing in traditional green generation, which, by the way, I'm very proud to say that finally we can use traditional together with green generation. Until a few years ago, renewable energy was like something strange, something that only few people were involved with it. Now we're all involved. Now we all benefit from it. Now they're becoming traditional. They're becoming part of everyday life. We are at the tipping point. We're also investing in advanced sustainable heat and gas, district heat networks, CHP, anaerobic digestion. These are all sustainable way of producing electricity. Energy management system, in particular battery storage. This is going to be key in a market like the UK, and I suspect in a market like Japan in the future, in the near future. Also, we are very, very closely following charging infrastructure market for electric vehicles, but also for compressed natural gas. And we see massive opportunities in the UK. So, in particular, what are we doing in the battery storage sector? We have created a company called Argonaut Power. It's a platform, I like to call it a platform of investment to develop and operate battery storage. We're targeting 250 megawatt of installation by 2021. The peculiarity is that we want to invest in behind-the-meter battery storage. That means batteries that will supply national grid to help national grid regulate the frequency and the capacity, but also they are behind the meter to help commercial and industrial customers to reduce their energy bill and to improve the quality of power delivery. All this renewable energy that is going into the grid is creating a problem to the grid because, as I said, don't know when, don't know where it's coming. So frequency issues and capacity issue. That means an increase in brownouts and blackouts on the grid. And C&I customer, the worst thing you can do to affect their competitiveness is, in fact, disrupt their core activity. That's why we believe that behind the meter is a great offer that will help both national grid and the C&I sector in the UK. Also, these can actually create 35% of your revenue under long-term contract, which is something that investors like to see. Investors like to see visible cash flow. The rest is coming from ancillary services to national grid, that as of today, they're only under 2-year contracts. We expect to see net return in around 12%, and we're technology agnostic. This market is moving very quickly. We started looking at it 18 months ago. We set up the company a month ago. It took us a lot of time to understand how it works, but within a few weeks, we're already looking at 13 megawatts of opportunities. And if we're going on this rate, we will definitely beat our targets. This is a great opportunity for you to learn from a very transparent and regulated market and export it. What we're interested in here is technology providers. Japanese companies, battery companies, are one of the best in the world, and we're looking for these kind of partners that can actually help us deploy batteries in the UK. But also we're looking for investment houses, Japanese investors, that can learn here and take the technology at a global level. First in your home market, but think about the opportunities in other markets like Latin America, where there is a lot of renewable energy. Countries like Chile or Uruguay, they have 80% of their production. And the more renewable, the more instability, the more batteries you need. Think about Africa with a very poor grid, Southeast Asia with the opportunities of having a very unstable grid as well. Renewable energy is a tipping point now, and I think we're going over the tipping point only if we create a sustainable environment around it. This is a quick picture of how it works. We put a battery behind the meter. We take the customer off the grid during peak hour, so from 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock in the afternoon, when electricity costs the most. So they save energy, but also by having a backup on site, their delivery of electricity become more resilient. And that means no more blackouts, no more brownouts. So UK companies saving money, becoming more competitive because they can offer the product at a cheaper price. Electricity costs account for 20–25% of total OPEX. But also supplying services to national grid through frequency regulation and capacity. And I'll be more than happy to take your question later on battery storage, because I'm leading the development of battery storage for Ingenious. But also we have done a lot in the traditional, as I said before, renewable energy generation side, solar and wind in particular. I've lost count, but I think we developed, built, and sold in excess of 400 million pounds, I think, of solar and wind. We teamed up with a developer with technical skills in solar and wind, and we set up a company called Golden Square Energy, because we are based in Golden Square in London, so it was a very creative name. In 2018, our target is to acquire 70 megawatt of solar and 45 megawatt of wind. We are already managing most of these megawatts through our retail funds. So we already know this asset. We've been managing this asset for 3 years. Most of this asset has been developed in-house, so we perfectly know how it works. Target for 2019, 200 megawatt of solar, UK most, but also looking outside the UK, like the Netherlands, like Australia, and 50 megawatt of wind. I've been very conservative with wind because I keep receiving opportunities on secondary wind. We know that primary market, like greenfield, is no longer available because there are no more subsidiaries. So all we have is what has been built in the past. This has created a massive competition, and as a consequence, as you may understand, a compression of yield. So solar and wind, we're looking at something like 6 to 7% return. But it offers stable and visible long-term cash flow, and very predictable. On the left-hand side, you see another category of investment. If you're after a higher return, then anaerobic digestion is your investment, because we're looking at around 8.5%, 9%. We own 12 plants to date. We are investing in another 9 plants in construction and development. And again, we set up a joint venture with a contractor called Kila. And the joint venture is called IQ Biogas, because we believe that we need to work with the expert to make it successful. We're trying to replicate the success we had on the right-hand side, solar and wind, into anaerobic digestion. And we have very ambitious plan to reach up to 400 million total by 2020. And we already own 12 plants. We're building 9 in phase 1, another 9 in phase 2, where we have a couple of opportunities to acquire projects from third parties. So we're very well placed in hitting those targets. But we're not only generation, we're also looking, as I said before, at infrastructure for transportation, in particular EV charging and compressed natural gas fuel. EV charging, the estimate is we will have 1 million electric vehicles by 2022. That means we will need charging stations, and there are not many around. That means massive opportunity. We are targeting portfolio of rapid charges with multi-site host. On the CNG, it's compressed natural gas. It's very common in Brazil, for example, very common in Europe, continental Europe. There are 3,000 refueling stations in Europe, only 20 in the UK. You can see the opportunity there. And again, we're targeting a very technical partner to work with them to roll out an investment program of refueling stations. And what we're looking for here, we're looking for the visionary car park owners, the visionary supermarket owners, that they understand that the future is EV, and they have the right asset to implement charging station. You go to do your shopping, park your car, charge it. Car park in the middle of the city. You park your car, you go to a meeting, your car is charged. Perfect combo. So why Ingenious? Well, different reasons. We are a team of 35 people. We have internal legal, accounting, finance, commercial expertise. We're very much sector focused. We like to partner up in joint venture with the best in the sector. So the revolution has started. No one can stop it. Not even Trump can stop it now. We're going ahead. It's happening. Very, very good. And we are part of it. And if you want to be part of it, I think we can be the best partner for you. Thank you.